on to our third round rules. Look at this real quick. So you've got, if we can put this up here, a great take gives you 800 points, a good take gives you 400, an okay take gives you 200, and a bad take, you come home empty-handed. You get 0 points. Let's move on to what is undeniably the game of the weekend coming up in Week 13, featuring the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles, two teams that squared off in the NFC title game a year ago at Lincoln Financial Field in the city of brotherly love. Shockingly, at least in my estimation, this is why I'm about to pose the question I'm going to pose. Shockingly, in my estimation, the Philadelphia Eagles' best record in the NFL, MVP, potential frontrunner Jalen Hurts. Ladies and gentlemen, they are 3-point underdogs at home facing a San Francisco 49ers team. We know the firepower they possess. These are arguably two of the best teams in the NFC, although obviously your team, AJ, the Cowboys, makes a strong case that they're in that class as well. So I'll ask you, right now, if you look at this game, should Philadelphia be a home underdog against the 49ers?
You know, I hate when you ask me these questions that I have to go against the grain of what I really want to say. No, I don't think they should be. And the reason is the last 3 weeks, they've come off beating the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Bills. I think it was 5 points, 4 points, and 3-point difference. So that's not necessarily a great argument until you just add in that they were able to pull off victories. And I think that's what really it comes down to. There was no quit. I mean, last week I thought we were cheering. Finally, someone's taking down these Eagles, and they come back and win against the Bills. Mind you, it was an epic kick. Yeah, an epic kick that kind of extended the game. That being said, the other thing too that isn't considered is the refereeing. And maybe I watched the Eagles a little too closely than anyone else. So, could be happening for the 49ers too, I'll admit. But there was some noise online. And if you look at some of these missed penalties, starting with the Cowboys too, starting that week and moving up these last 3 weeks, there's been you could count on one hand or almost two hands how many missed calls there are. Now, I know those happen every play, but like I said, it's something that I'm just watching a little bit more closely. So I think the refs might give them a little something that will help them win. I would probably bet for Philly to win the game if I was ever to bet on Philly. But I don't think that they should be underdogs at home. No.
That's fair. I mean, listen, it's obviously San Francisco. There's the argument that some of the Niners players had last year, like, hey, if Brock Purdy's arm doesn't basically come apart in the first quarter of that game, maybe it's more competitive. Certainly, we assume it's more competitive because they lost Josh Johnson right after that, and they were having to run Christian McCaffrey at Wildcat the rest of the game, so it really wasn't a competitive game in the second half at that point. So solid take. I'm going to give you an okay take, Alex. I don't know if the officiating is quite as one-sided as you're giving it credit for. I mean, I could argue there were some plays in the fourth quarter where Buffalo got the upper hand. There were some ticky-tack false starts on Jason Kelce that kind of hurt the field position. And then props to Jake Elliott. He made the kick of kicks there to send it to overtime. But okay take there for AJ. Move to John Rivera right now. Do you think the Eagles should be home underdogs to the 49ers?
Hell no, that's just disrespectful. They just disrespecting the Eagles. You talking about refs and betting? Don't that all go together? You know what I mean? The refs call the game, they got point shaving or whatever. But yeah, that's just disrespectful, man. They just giving at home. That's just crazy. +3, yeah. I'm a betting man. You know what I mean? As your segment, I'm a betting man, so I'm definitely taking the Eagles +3. But it's definitely disrespectful. You know what I mean? San Francisco. Ultimately, I give them all due respect. They ultimately, top to bottom, one of the best teams, if not the best team, like roster-wise, top to bottom. But the only really, really, really good win was a Dallas spanking. I know, sorry for your Dallas Cowboys. I know you bring them up because, Dallas fanboy over there. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to y'all. But yeah. So the only big win was, I believe, was against Dallas. They took a 3-game losing streak. Philly lost to my Jets. It was fluky. Jets at that time was okay. You know what I mean? So it was a fluky game, you know what I mean? But Philly, one loss all season. Like I said, San Fran went through that 3-game losing streak. The only really big win was against Dallas. Philly showing these tough, grimy games where they can, come back in the rain at home against Buffalo. The same thing, be down at halftime against Kansas City. Like, they beat all these games. The same for Dallas. Dallas should have won that game. But, a win is a win, a loss is a loss, as I say. So it's definitely disrespectful that they're getting +3 at home. I'm definitely going to take them. And guess what? It's going to be another gritty, ugly kind of game. and Philly's going to win at the end. Close game. You know what I mean? At home for being disrespected.
You know what? What's crazy is I almost feel like I was saying on my show yesterday and carving it up that there's this weird sort of narrative around Philly. Just full transparency. I hate the Eagles. Passionately hate the Eagles. Hate all Philadelphia teams. Sixers, everybody. But there's this weird narrative about like how their wins maybe don't look that good aesthetically. They're not like sexy wins like the Niners have had in the past, like against Jacksonville or against Dallas, for example. And it's kind of like, yeah, but when you find a way to win, you're battle tested. You know what it's like to win many different type of ways. You can win shootouts. You can win, like last week, ugly games against the Buffalo Bills. Like it can, props to them for taking care of business when they did. So for that, John, great take, my man. John is pretty much the way the point spread's going right now. It looks like John is almost guaranteed to advance to the final round. We will see if it comes down to AJ versus Dylan. So I will ask you, Dylan, should the Philadelphia Eagles be underdogs at home against the 49ers?
I feel like this is a lot tougher question for me than it really should be. I feel like it should be a no-brainer that the Eagles should not be underdogs because they have the best record in the NFL. And as iterated, they always find different ways to win. And Nick Sirianni is a great coach. My concern with them is that they kind of play a little too cute, like they kind of like doing trickery. They almost have to rely on different, they have to really open up the playbook sometimes to really get the ball going instead of just playing standard basic football. And I feel like that's where the Niners kind of do best, where you're not looking at them as like, oh, what are they going to do next? Like, you know what they're going to do, and they're still going to beat you. I do believe, though, that if the Niners get ahead, they're going to keep their foot on the Eagles' throats. So I have been high on the Niners, and I think I'm going to stay high on the Niners. It's just tough because I think Niners should be favorites, but it'd only be like by 1 point, maybe even if it's just like a even spread. But I still give the edge to the Niners overall.
That's fair. And I do think San Francisco today, with respect to Philly, Baltimore, teams like that, I do think Philadelphia is the best. San Francisco is the best roster on the NFL top to bottom. I've been saying all season, like if Brock Purdy's your weak link, that's a darn good weak link to have on your football team, given his numbers and what he's produced dating back to last season. So fair points across the board. You know what's funny is when you look at our point totals right now. So John, congrats, man. You're moving to the final round for the second straight week. But we look at our point totals. Okay take by Dylan, with the okay take by AJ. Right now, I'm looking at this good old-fashioned American quarter right here. I think we're going to flip this puppy 2 out of 3 times. You know what? Let's just do it with single elimination. One time to decide who advances. So since Dylan advanced, we're going to do this, okay? Since Dylan advanced the final round a week ago, he gets to call heads or tails. So Dylan, you going to call heads on this puppy or tails?
Tails never fails. Give me tails.
I totally disagree with tails never fails, but we will see if that comes to fruition. Here we go. All right. Flipped it. Tails never fails. Dylan advances to the final round. Congratulations. Sorry to do this to you, AJ, but great performance, though, my man. Great performance. A multi-time participant in the 8 o'clock spot. The championship will come in the future, my man. You will, at some point, get some bracket brights over Adam and certainly over Anth. We need to get Anth on the show at some point, AJ.
But yeah, absolutely. We got to set up a Can Fan spectacular here.
Yes.
I don't know if it'll be recordable. We'll be arguing too much, but I do have a question for you, and I want you to hit this up on the Carving It Up podcast, if you can, if this fits you. I want to know what the risk is of Dan Quinn leaving the Cowboys in 2024, and if there is a risk, what keeps him around? And I'll say my piece. Good luck, gentlemen.
There it is. Yeah.